Welcome back to another show, everybody. This is You May Roscoe, and I am Roscoe. And today I got my partner in crime with me. I got Sale in the building. What up, my dude?
What's going on, man? What's going on?
Man, same old, same old. Before we start up, my man Sale's birthday was yesterday. You know what I mean? So I need everybody out there to show love to my brother. You know what I mean? And say, give him a happy birthday shout out and all that stuff. Before we continue to proceed. So I just wanted to get that out the way. Before we continue, I do want to ask for anybody who hasn't already that they please subscribe to the channel, and also make sure you hit the notification bell. That way you'll be reminded of future shows. Today, me and Sale, we're going to be attacking what's going to be controversial for some. You know what I mean? Because we're going to be talking about, the name of this video is How Good Was Allen Iverson Actually? And that's quite the title, because me and Sale, we kind of got different views on Iverson a little bit, so we'll be attacking this whole subject, if you will. So I'm ready if y'all are. Sale, you ready to do this?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm putting my gloves on, man, because I see this gonna be one of those. You know what I mean? But let's go ahead and start this up.
Allen Iverson was one of the most polarizing NBA players ever. On the court, he was a pure scorer, a killer dribbler, and a ferocious competitor. Off the court, he was a crowd magnet, a fashion icon, and a party animal. He was the best and the worst teammate at the same time, a coach's dream for one game and a nightmare the next. AI was hated by many, but is still one of the most beloved NBA players ever. He was the least efficient player who won a scoring title, and a bad defender that led the league in steals. His nickname was The Answer. But even 10 years after he retired, the question remains, was Iverson really as good as he was popular?
Man, he started off very well, the way that he described the conundrum that is Allen Iverson. He did that was a nice little start off with that, because I do believe that there's a lot of duality, a lot of people on both sides on how they view Allen Iverson's career. You know what I mean? But any takes that you want to throw out there so far?
I wait till this is over if I say my spiel.
Okay. All right, let's keep it moving.
Growing up in poverty, 5-star recruit, and a convict. Allen Iverson was born on June 7, 1975, in Hampton, Virginia. And growing up, he played both basketball and football, and he was considered a 5-star recruit in both sports. As a junior, Iverson led his Bethel High School to state titles as a point guard in basketball and a quarterback in football, and was named as Virginia Player of the Year in both sports. Iverson was destined for greatness. But then on February 14, 1993, one incident nearly terminated his career before it really began. Allen was hanging out with teammates in a bowling alley, and then a fight broke out. And because he was the most famous teenager in the state, Allen got singled out and unjustly accused of injuring a woman with a chair. The prosecution waited 8 months before he turned 18, so they could judge him as an adult. Iverson got sentenced for 5 years in prison, plus 10 years on parole. He served 4 months in a correctional facility in Newport before the governor of Virginia overturned his conviction due to insufficient evidence. Still, due to his new reputation as a convict, NCAA universities withdrew their scholarships, and his basketball career was not yet salvaged. After a hearty letter from Allen's mother, Georgetown's coach John Thompson accepted Iverson's plea, and Allen repaid him with electrifying performances on the court. AI led Georgetown to the Elite Eight and made the first team All-American as a sophomore. And he was named Big East Defensive Player of the Year in both years as a Hoya. With 22.9 points per game, he is still an all-time Georgetown leader in scoring average. Following his sophomore year, Iverson declared for the 1996 NBA draft. He was the first player under Coach Thompson to leave Georgetown early for the NBA, where he was selected with the #1 overall pick by the Sixers. At 6'0" and 175 pounds, AI became the shortest and the lightest #1 pick ever.
I'm gonna stop it right there for a second. Sale, were you familiar with like his not only his playing career in like high school and all that? Because I didn't even realize I knew that he played football, but I didn't know that he was a
He was a monster.
5-star
He was a
recruit.
monster, especially for his height playing quarterback. There's only a few around his height that can actually do something like that, and his weight, man. But he was a monster, man, with the pig skin and the basketball, man.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Respect him.
I knew that he was doing both, you know what I mean? But I didn't realize how good on the football side he was, you know, and then of course they talk about the incident that led to him getting locked up for a little bit. I'm assuming that you was familiar with that whole part of his story.
I watched a documentary.
Oh,
They did if I'm not mistaken, I think they did a 30 on 30 on him on ESPN some years ago.
okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I have to check that out. I haven't. It's funny. I don't even remember like that running across my face at all. You know what I mean? Like seeing even like previews, you know, to that 30 for 30. But I have to look that one up and see what was up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I remember like him playing in college, and
Mm-hmm.
he was definitely like a very good college basketball player, you know. And I thought that well, at the time I thought that his game would translate to the league pretty decently. You know what I mean? Like he was good enough where you could see at least that much, you know, from him. But I'm gonna let the video continue further now that we're at that point to where he is in the career now
Mm-hmm.
in the video.
Rookie of the Year and rise to superstardom. In the 1980s, Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas set the trail for point guards to be the focal points of a championship team. Although they could score the ball, both Magic and Isaiah were old school, pass-first point guards who have won titles as passers in teams loaded with talent. In the 90s, the game slowed down significantly and became very predictable due to the huge number of isolations for high-scoring guards and small forwards, and post-ups from bigs. There were still pass-first point guards such as John Stockton and Jason Kidd, but the new wave of point guards was emerging, with Iverson at the helm. AI played shoot-first, ask-questions-later kind of basketball that changed the point guard position forever, largely due to his influence. In a stacked draft class with Kobe, Ray Allen,
Yeah.
I'm the latest hashtag
I'm gonna let this commercial play out.
challenge, and everyone on social media is trying me. But if you don't have the right auto insurance coverage, you could be left to pay for all of this yourself. So get Allstate.
Old Spud, Stephon Marbury,
There we go. You had something you wanted to throw out there, Sal?
This 96 class was awesome, man. Of course, you got Kobe, you got Steve Nash, man. You got Ray Allen right there in the cut. Like, this was a great class. This was a great class, man. Draft class, in my opinion, man. One of them.
I love this draft class, dude. And I see my man down there on my right, at my bottom right, my man Kerry Kittles.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was a big time Kittles fan, dude. Oh my God, I love Kerry Kittles. But that whole class though, like
That's Marbury, right?
yeah,
That look like Marbury. Yeah, it's Marbury.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it got Sharif Abdul Rahim, a forgotten name in history. You know what I mean? Old Marcus Camby over there, but that was a stacked class. So, I mean, like stack. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, and I don't think Iverson is in that picture right at all.
Nah, I don't see him because I'm looking at the Hall of Famers. 1, 2, 3. Iverson is 4. I think is Ray Allen in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I believe so.
So him, Kobe, Nash, Iverson. I think that's it out of this group.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. Like everybody else had pretty decent careers though. You know what I mean? O'Neal, you know, he did his thing as well as Raheem and
And,
Kennedy,
yeah.
But yeah, no, it just as far as like it wasn't one of those top heavy draft classes. Like it was like the talent was pretty spread out throughout that draft. I kind of remember that. So that was a dope draft. But I will speak on something that the guy mentioned during this video about how probably coming in with this class almost, you know what I mean? How the league kind of changed, you know what I mean? Because they did that when they spoke about like Isaiah and Magic and the guys that played from that era, it was at least in my opinion, it was more team centric. And then when you get this era of guys, just look at that.
I'm looking, Allen, Kobe. I mean, straight shooters.
Shooters, and guys who they was gonna take a lot of shots and not a lot of, especially from the shooting guard position, which they focused on heavy. But even with the point guards to some degree, it was about, except for Nash.
Nash was definitely known as a passer, the assist guy.
Right. Even though like he could score like a lot of points, you know what I mean? But the rest of the point guards that would come in around this time, Starberry, you know what I mean, Allen Iverson, and on going into the two guards, like everybody was about like it was isolation. It's all about me, you know what I mean? I'm gonna get mine, So, so yeah, the league was definitely changing around this time, So, but we'll keep this going.
Steve Nash and Antoine Walker, Allen dominantly won the Rookie of the Year award with 23.5 points and 7.5 assists on average. Iverson immediately became a star, and he dazzled the crowd with his fast dribble and scoring prowess. He broke Wilt Chamberlain's rookie record of 3 straight games with at least 40 points, doing so in 5 straight games, including a 50-point effort against the Cavs. The highlight of the year was his crossover on Jordan, which remains one of the best plays anybody's ever had at Mike's expense. Iverson finished with 37 that night, and with audacious plays like that, the NBA crowds were glued to their seats to see what he's going to do next. Apart from stellar,
I ain't gonna front. Like I watched that game. I remember watching that game, and when he crossed Mike over, which I have to put out the caveat that everybody's gonna get crossed every now and again. You know what I mean? So regardless of, you could be the greatest defender ever. I've seen Gary Payton get his ankles broke like once or twice, not a whole lot.
We talking about the GOAT. We talking about the GOAT though, man. So it was a little bit more heavy.
Yeah,
a little bit more like, oh shit.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. You're right about that. Like it did. You said it perfectly. You said it perfectly. Like I think that's how everybody felt when they saw that. It was like, dude, what the fuck am I watching? You know what I mean? So, so you see this young whippersnapper who you still got Similac behind the ears. You know what I mean? And this what you doing?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's the very first game he played against Jordan. If I'm not mistaken,
I think it was.
So,
and he was doing some talking beforehand too. So,
and he was still able to drop 30 some odd points. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, he did that. He did that. You know, I'm not a fan of that moment. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm not either, but it is history. It is what it is.
Yeah, no, I ain't got no time machine. So you're right. You know, but whew, yeah, no, we gonna keep this going. But that was tough. Oh, my bad. Yeah, let me get it back. There we go.
Play, people could see that AI was not afraid of anybody and that he carried himself with certain swag. He was the epitome of hip-hop, dressed like a rapper, and he had that battle rap attitude saying, "I'm better than you, and I'm gonna get mine, and there's nothing you can do about it." AI was generously listed at 6 feet, but was probably 5'11" and change. However, he had the mentality of Michael Jordan in the body of Trey Burke. He was small, but his persona was larger than life, and he oozed confidence with every breath he took, and everybody felt it and fell in love with it. Becoming MVP. AI had the speed that was never seen before on the NBA hardwood. Iverson's ability to slice through the basket no matter how many defenders you threw at him was unmatched. And he is without a doubt one of the best drivers in NBA history. Before he stepped on the scene, Tim Hardaway's crossover was the most famous one, but when AI showed up, everything else faded away and was not as good. He broke the ankles of half the guards in the league, and many players said they were anxious the night before they played the Sixers, simply because they knew they could get embarrassed by Iverson. AI was just that good, and in a one-on-one scenario, he was unstoppable. Quickness and skill were a nightmare for opposing guards, and nobody could deal with him off the dribble. However, his team was not equipped for playoff success. And after missing the playoffs in his first 2 seasons, Iverson and the Sixers lost in the second round to the Pacers for 2 years in a row. By the turn of the millennium, his jumpers started coming along, and AI hitting from deep unleashed a whole other set of problems for anyone trying to guard him. Philadelphia also hired Larry Brown as a head coach, who initially struggled to reach Iverson, but that would all change in the 2000-2001 season, the best year of Iverson's career.
Yeah. So before they start getting knee deep into that particular season, which we all know that it was his best one. He took the team to the finals, and they snuck one game up out of the Lakers. I know that Iverson I think he had like 50 something. That one game that they ended up winning. But I think that's also the same game where we get the classic image of him like stepping over to Ron Lue. That's been in a lot of clips. But something that he was talking about, the fact that, first of all, he didn't have good teams, in those beginning stages, his first couple of years. Really, for as long as he was in Philly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like them teams was kind of, even with this team, that 2001 team, that was the one team where it wasn't the greatest team by no stretch of the imagination, but it was one of those teams where it had the right piece in place for everything. You know what I mean? Like that, like you had, I remember Tyrone Hill being on the team as like the enforcer and the rebounder, Dikembe and him as the defensive anchor in the middle, and Aaron McKee as the sixth man, and Eric Snow, who was, just there to set up Iverson. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what's your thoughts on like this before we get into like the MVP season, like I know he said something about like how his game was coming along and his jumper and all that. Like Iverson I always looked at as a very inefficient dude, and there was some luck that came with that particular season too in 2001.
Yeah, he had a very poor field goal percentage throughout his career. I will say that much. It was.
Yeah, no, it was bad, and not and I know they had already talked about like his style of dress and the attitude and all that, and that was something like we've seen it. Not the style of dress, but just the attitude part of it, where that's you throughout history you can find guys, with a little bit of attitude or whatever. But I think when Iverson came, I think there was like this lack of regard for the old guard. You know what I mean? Like these new guys started coming in, and it was like, boy, we ain't got no respect for what came before us. You know what I mean? Like we finna blaze this new path, and it started trickling into like how they dress, because before Iverson, like the guys, suits and ties.
Well, they just figure it's a business, it's a professional business, so dress apart.
Yeah.
But some guys ain't suit and tie made, and Iverson's pretty much the front runner of like, no, I'm wearing what I want. I'm comfortable. This is what makes me comfortable. This is who I am. You're either going to mold yourself around it, or else. And what did the NBA do? They got a whole lot more lean on their wardrobe policy. So
Well,
I respect
eventually,
them for that.
yeah,
Yeah,
eventually they
eventually,
did.
but
Yeah,
they
because
dragged them through the mud for a while.
oh
But
yeah, no,
mm,
they even created a rule like shortly after because it started being more than just Iverson. Like
yeah,
Iverson kind of he set the trend. Like it was
front
cornrows,
runner,
gold,
headbands,
yeah. Like
yeah,
dudes was wilding. You know, they was
jewelry,
yeah,
earrings in the ears and shit. Yeah.
yeah. You know, so it was definitely like, man, where is this coming from? Like no more suits and ties on the side. And the NBA is somebody who like because they've always been focused on the image of the league.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that was looking kind of crazy when we hadn't seen it before.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, maybe because I old school mentality, I was just like, man, that's not so much the dress, you know what I mean? Because me and Iverson are roughly around the same age, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I dress the same, but now as I've gotten older, you start to realize like there's a time and a place for some of these things, you know what I mean? And maybe it's good to acquiesce to kind of the status quo a little bit when you're in certain venues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But now I guess we could go ahead and jump into this finals that they finna start talking about. Let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
The 76ers finally assembled a squad fitted around Iverson, which wasn't the easiest thing in the world. The team featured gritty role players who would hide Allen on defense and let him shine on offense, and feed off of his relentless drives to the basket. Defensive ace Dikembe Mutombo patrolled the middle, and Eric Snow was the nominal point guard of that team, and its second leading scorer. But he only averaged 12 points that year, and the nomenclature wasn't really important. Whether you call him a point guard or a shooting guard, it didn't matter. AI had the ball, and when he got it, he usually didn't give it away. AI won the 2001 MVP with an average of 31.1.
Feeling healthy by leaps and bounds. Making a dinner that makes their whole day. And giving your best friend the best nutrients for their best life. Science did that.
Promotion. Yay. It's all good, everybody. We gonna get
points, with an insane usage rate of 38%, second highest usage ever at the time. On the way to the finals, Iverson had some of the most memorable performances against Vince Carter in the East Semis, where the two superstars traded 50-point games back and forth. The Sixers advanced in 7, after which they played 7 games against Ray Allen and the Bucks, where Iverson scored a combined 90 points in games 6 and 7, to push Philly to their first finals since 1983.
I ain't gonna get into this for too long. I just want to throw it out there that the Milwaukee Bucks was cheated that year. The referees cheated them to get Iverson there, and I know they want the golden boy at the time to be there, but I like that Milwaukee Bucks team with Glenn Robinson and Sam Cassell and Ray Allen. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. Anything you want to throw in there?
Nope.
Let's keep it going.
Best game of his career. The 2001 LA Lakers were one of the best teams ever assembled, with Shaquille O'Neal in his prime as the most dominant big man who ever played, and Kobe Bryant, who emerged as a superstar in his own right, surrounded by great shooters. The Sixers were the heavy underdog, and were written off before the series even started. But Iverson had other plans, and he was too proud ever to admit someone was better than him. In Game 1, he tormented the Lakers' defense the entire night, with relentless drives to the basket and smooth jumpers from the baseline. AI had 30 by halftime, and the Sixers had a 15-point lead in the third quarter. Then came Tyronn Lue, a small point guard who wore cornrows like AI, and who was the only Laker fast enough to keep up with Iverson. Lue ran after Iverson like a dog, hounding him relentlessly as soon as he picked up the ball at half court, and pushing him to take tough contested jumpers. The tactic worked, and the Lakers caught up the lead and pushed the game to overtime. Iverson then decided he had enough, and he closed the game with 7 straight points, including the famous shot and step over Lue to clinch the game.
Tyronn Lue, who's a great coach right now, a great coach, a championship coach actually, man. Like Tyronn is doing great things right now, but that's the sore spot on the resume that ain't never going away. That step over right there is funny.
I said we had to fight. You can step over me like that.
Yeah, no, man, dude, a kick in the nuts or something. Like, dude,
if he would have did that shit in the early 90s, 80s, motherfuckers would have got up and tried to steal off him.
Yeah, yeah, like boy, AI got off with, he got away with one on this one, man. Because you right, boy, it's a slugfest. And you stepping over and looking at me too. Boy, it's a shootout in the parking lot or something.
Disrespectful.
Man.
He finished the game with 48 points, 6 assists, and 5 steals. And it was one of the best finals games any player has ever played in the NBA. However, Shaq and Kobe were too much, and the Lakers would go on to win the finals 4 games to 1. Despite the loss, AI was the people's champion and at the height of his popularity. Playoff disappointments, trades, and NBA exit. After his MVP year, Iverson kept piling on points on a large volume of shots and led the league in scoring for 2 more times. However, neither was he willing to change his ways to let some of his teammates thrive, as he was always among the league leaders in usage rate. And in fairness to him, the Sixers never put as good of a team around him as they did in 2001. They won exactly 1 more playoff series with Iverson, and after a 2005 first-round exit, it was time to face the truth that the Sixers can't win the title with AI as their best player. They traded him to Denver at the midpoint of the 2005-06 season, where he joined the young and talented Nuggets, led by Carmelo Anthony. With the Nuggets, AI played some of the most efficient basketball of his career, but the team was too inexperienced to make a deep playoff run. After 2 first-round losses, Denver traded Iverson early in the 08-09 season.
He had some guys on that team.
Yeah, but like you said, they were young. Melo, Martin. I mean,
they had some players.
Yeah.
But I think more than anything than the youth part of it, the West was super stacked at the time.
I mean, true. Very, very, very true.
I mean, no, go ahead, bro.
I mean, true. I mean, at least they made it to the playoffs. I mean, they got knocked off the first round them 2 years. They obviously prayed for them, but my man couldn't catch a break.
No, he couldn't. He couldn't. And I don't like at this time when he with the Nuggets. I don't fault him for the playoff exits, however early they was, because like the reality is like that West was a monster. And it's been that way what seemed like for like 25, 30 years. Like the West is always something different than what's going on over the East for whatever reason.
Facts.
Whatever reason.
And it was the beginning of the end for AI. He was still good, but he lost some of the speed he had, which was a death sentence for an undersized volume shooter. After half a season in Detroit and 3 games with the Grizzlies, Allen Iverson returned to Philadelphia, where he belonged, and where fans greeted him like a deity. The answer played the last 25 games of his career for the Sixers, and finished his NBA career in 2010 at the age of 34. Legacy trendsetter. Many people hated Iverson and his ball-hogging habits, his brash antics, and clothes that were fitted for someone double his size. However, for all the aspiring ball players, and especially for smaller guards, Allen Iverson was a god. For all the Davids that were trying to make it in a game of Goliaths, Iverson was the North Star. Many players modeled their game after him, and we have seen a tidal wave of shoot-first point guards flooding the league after he became popular. Iverson was only the fourth point guard to win an MVP award, and since he won it in 2001, there were 7 different years when a point guard won the MVP, which isn't a coincidence. Nowadays, the NBA is a point guard-dominated league, which was a revolution directly started by AI.
That's something I can agree with. In short, like I feel like Iverson was the vanguard that changed that whole thing. Like as soon as he came to the league, like it seemed like there was very few pass first point guards that would come afterwards. Like all these little dudes was 2 guards, basically. You know what I mean? Posing as point guard. So he definitely is the direct reason for that, I believe. You know, but anything you want to throw in there, Sal?
No, because we ain't got that much time left.
Let's finish this out.
Iverson was a trendsetter, and he changed the way people talked, dressed, and behaved. In the early and mid-2000s, half the NBA wore cornrows, football jerseys, and oversized t-shirts. If a kid bought an arm sleeve, he didn't buy it to protect his elbows. He bought it because Iverson made it look cool. With AI, you have to take the good with the bad. Iverson grew up poor in a bad neighborhood. He lived in an apartment where the sewer system was draining on the floor. "I'll never forget the smell of my feet. That's what pushed me to succeed," Iverson said. And just when you'd think that these conditions made Iverson get up at 5 in the morning and work on his game tirelessly, you'd be wrong. Iverson almost never woke up before noon, and he'd often go to sleep in the wake of dawn. This is arguable, but nobody in the history of basketball achieved more with less practice. Practice, yes. We are talking about practice.
Are we talking about practice? Practice?
Classic.
Iverson was pure heart and pure talent, and it was usually enough for him to be the best player on the floor. And that's why people gravitated towards him. He was just that good, and he never changed. He was the same player in person in Georgetown and on the playgrounds of Virginia, and he was the same when he got to the NBA and had the admiration of millions. And that's why you can't hate him for going out, drinking, and not dedicating his life to basketball like Kobe or LeBron. Not when he went out and played his heart out while having multiple injuries on his slender body, while still driving to the paint and attacking the basket like there's no tomorrow. From a statistical standpoint, Iverson was a bad shooter who took wild shots, passed less than he should have, and lost the ball more than he should have. But you can't look at Iverson like that, because that would be missing the point. You don't sit in a 600 horsepower Ferrari and then complain about how it's not a practical daily driver. Simply said, Iverson as a persona and a player meant too much for too many basketball fans worldwide. He was so fun to watch and so easy to cheer on, and you knew that he's giving it all out on the court. And that's why you took some of the bad with the good, and that's why people bought tickets to see him play. They didn't buy tickets to watch the Sixers, they bought them to watch Iverson. At the end of the day, it didn't matter that he didn't give it all in practice, that he hung out in clubs late, that he never lifted weights. With Iverson, it just didn't matter. That's how special he was. He was bigger than basketball, and his legacy will always be bigger than some efficiency statistic. But if we are talking statistics, let's just mention that he scored over 24,000 points, and that his point average of 26.7 is the 7th best of all time. In the playoffs, he averaged 29.7, which is second to only Michael Jordan. AI led the league in scoring 4 times, with 1 MVP, 11 All-Star appearances, and 7 All-NBA selections. He scored 40 or 50 on almost all major stars of his era. Vince, Kobe, Ray Allen, T-Mac, and Jordan, all of them were on the receiving end of his killer crossover and could do nothing to stop the little guy. Kobe said it best, "We're all lucky that Allen Iverson is not 6'5". And when Kobe says something like that, you can take it to the bank.
Yeah, Yeah, that's about the end of it. But no, he said a mouthful right there about like if Iverson was just somebody, not only if he was a bigger dude, you know, a taller dude, but if he was somebody who actually like worked on his game for real.
Yeah,
that's what's amazing. It's like this guy wasn't working on his game really at all, just natural gifts. You know what I mean? Ain't trying to put no work in to better it, you know, which is like for me, at least, like that's one of the things that kind of stuck in my craw a little bit about him, is because Um, I even though he did what he did, and these numbers that like them playoff and regular season career averages is pretty high. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy. But we also know that the inefficiency was there, and the user rate was so high. Like, I mean, if you the only guy that's shooting, and I remember some of those seasons where he was averaging like 27 shots a game, and stuff like that, and to be like a low 40s field goal percentage, and shooting that many times, it was just like, wow, but nobody else on the team was there to shoot.
Right.
But what's your final assessment on all this though, bro?
Now, I love AI, but I will say personally, just a little overrated, just a little, not as much as you,
Yeah.
but just a little bit, because I always keep going back to the 2004 Olympics, man. Like he blew that for them because he was just taking so many shots, and his percentage was horrible during them years Olympics.
Yeah.
And that was around the same time, the U.S. basketball is known to dominate. When it comes to the Olympics, it's U.S. And they just couldn't do it. And then his issues with the coaches and teammates because of just how he is really didn't sit well. But he also birthed a new generation of players, man. I mean, a whole new culture when it comes to things. Like I know I was one of them kids that I try to imitate him too growing up.
Yeah.
Because like one of the coolest things I've seen outside of Jordan personally. But outside of that, man, I mean, you can't knock him for what he did, especially for being a little guy. Ball hog, of course. But hey, I mean, if you don't trust nobody that well, I mean, you're gonna take more. You're gonna take more shots. And of course, your assist is gonna be kind of high because of however. But I don't knock that against him. Shit. Look how many shots Kobe done took.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't knock him. Little overrated, yes, but do I believe he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame? Yes, because I seen folks in there with less qualifications, mate.
Yeah.
So I'm not knocking him at all. His accolades and credentials should definitely put him in there for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like the way that you put that, bro. If it's one thing that I could say positive about this dude, it's like he had the heart of a lion.
Definitely.
Like for all of the faults that came with Iverson, one thing you was never gonna say about this dude is like he was scared of the moment. He wasn't scared to attack. He did, like his mentality and he was like pretty durable for like more than so actually for like most of his career with that little small frame.
And
You know,
then and then what I also respect is his humble beginnings, man. Look where he came and look where he got to. Even after they blew him off when he got arrested, and he thought his career was down the drain. That second chance, he didn't take that for granted. He did what he had to do to get to where he wanted to go.
word.
So I respect that all day more than anything else. I respect that all day because some folks get second chances and they blow it. At least he didn't.
Right.
He had to do what he had to do in order to get to where he wanted to be. So
Yeah.
I respect that all day. Much love to him.
Yep. It's over, y'all. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, hit the share button, hit the playlist option. This will be in the sports reactions playlist. So make sure you check for that. There's really like only a few seconds left.